Alrighty then, there comes a time in every project when you got nothing left to do, you hope, except just turn the key and see what happens. And that's where we're at with this 66 Chrysler. This is the one that I picked up about 3 months ago, and I've been working on it since. It came to me with no engine or anything in it, and I've been left to sit with the hood off of it, so I've spent a whole bunch of time refurbishing the engine bay. And I had an engine in this convertible over here that's supposedly good. I've heard it run a maximum of about 5 minutes in the last 5 years, so we hope that's going to work. And did all that, and then I think we're ready to go. I had to do those nagging little things at the end of every project that crop up when you're ready to crank it over. I had to, first thing happened, the starter relay was bad. It got water in it, I guess. It was rusted, wouldn't work, so I replaced that. And then the starter crapped out that I put on there, my good refurbished, well, repainted, one refurbished 66 starter. So I don't know what happened to that. Just all it would do is just clunk, 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 clunk. So I threw on a spare, got plenty, and then I had a water leak over here, and the water was leaking out of this bolt that I did not put in. That's actually supposed to be a stud, but it's a 3/8 stud normally, but it was gone. I meant to fix that while I had it out in the garage and on the stand on the hook, and I didn't do that either, so I had to fix that. And had a little gas leak over here on the fuel line that always happens. I always have to put sealer on those things. But I got a jug hooked up, and I got gas up to the carburetor, and I think the timing's pretty close. I think the carburetor's pretty close, we hope. Got the ignition hooked back up, got to put the coil on, wire on. Got my springs put on the accelerator, make sure those are there. Check the oil again, it's full of clean oil. Put power steering fluid in it, put transmission fluid in it, put 5 quarts of fluid in it. So I done all that, cranked it over several times, and the carburetor's squirting gas, so I think that's going to be workable. And I've walked off some nervous energy. This is scary, isn't it? And so I think we're ready to go. So we got their cameras set up, give you guys different views, and this may be a bust or it may be good to go. Let's do it. So I'm gonna put this on, and then you and I are gonna go inside the car where it's more safe, and then if something happens and we won't be in the direct line of fire. Hopefully, I hope there is no fire. But yeah, I wish I had Howard's dwell machine, or spark tester machine or whatever, but I don't. Okay, what do we got left? Alright, battery on, keys in it. This is it. Oh yeah, we got water hose charged, we got a fire extinguisher, we got a pile of wet rags over there too. That's the power steering pulley doing that. It's trying to turn the wheel left. That's why it's squealing. Yeah. may run out of gas here pretty soon. Oh, I see some smoke. All right, charging, oil lights going out. Good, I didn't think to look at it. Hot lights not on, the cold lights not on. All right. Oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, shit, that damn belt's smoking. Or the pump smoking or something, probably the belt. Got a little bit of, that's just the, looks like the paint on the manifold smoking. I only had a half a gallon of gas in there, so that's probably enough to run about 2 minutes. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm happy as hell about that. It's empty. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Pulled an Uncle Phil there. It sounds good. It's quiet. Looks like we run a couple stupid bugs out. About 3 of them. Good. Deal with that, guys. So, all right. Put my, I'm gonna put back here quick. Very good. Very good. So, I've got a regular time light. I'm going to go ahead. I've got to rig a better fuel supply up here, but I've got a regular time light I'm going to put on and just double check the timing. The timing sounds pretty close. I tried to put it at about 10 degrees before top dead center. And I'll tell you something, of all the stuff I do on a mechanics type job, I'm going to cut you guys off on this camera, by the way. I don't hardly ever use that camera. It's behind the scenes. I'll put you over here too. I haven't been using this GoPro as much as I had planned to. I like it just fine. The only drawback to it is it does not have a tripod. So look into getting that. But anyway, after the crank, thoughts. It's loud. It's got an exhaust leak, about 2 or 3 exhaust leaks under it. I know the muffler's got a little hole in it. And the tailpipe's kind of funky looking. That, you know, there's records in there that said that it had a exhaust system put on it, but look at that. There's that old muffler wrap. That thing, so that, man, that's a homemade job fair, so I didn't. So anyway, that exhaust is pretty shot, so the plan is I'm going to put duals on it anyway. So I saved off my other Y pipe so that I've got flanges to work with when I take it in in case I guess I could use the ones that are on it. I wasn't really thinking, I guess, but you can do that. But anyway, for right now, I'm going to rig up a better fuel supply so I can run it longer, and we're going to make sure the cooling system's going to come up to speed. And like I said, set the timing. And I was nervous. I don't know what I said and didn't say, but I've got a analyzer box coming. I talked about Old Car Alley, his box he's got, one of those that sets the dwell and stuff. I've never actually had one of those, so I got one of those coming, a new in the box one from eBay, and so we'll use that to set the dwell exactly as it's supposed to be. But I think I was gonna say that is all my mechanicing that I do, the one thing that I've had the hardest time trying to figure out when I'm working on an engine is advance and before and after timing, and advance turning the distributor and things like that as far as which way they turn. Now I understand the theory, it's not that, you know, I understand that if you have, like if you have this distributor turns counterclockwise, means hands on a clock, it turns the opposite way a clock turns, and then if you want to advance it, you go towards the direction the rotor is turning, so opposite of the way that the distributor turns, so you go clockwise to advance it. But I just run into like a mental block with that. I just sort of you know, try to picture it, and I'm sitting here looking at this distributor, and I've got the rotor on one side of number one, then I got down the other side, and I'm trying to, you know, figure it out. And just that's one thing that I have a terrible time coming to figure out in my mind with that. I don't know why that is, but what I did on this one is basically I set it top dead center. I knew it was top dead center because I had to take that valve cover back off to make sure, but top dead center number one, and I lined the rotor up top dead center, was pointing directly at number one, and then I turned the cap so that the rotor was pointing past, you know, on past number one. And that's what was hard for me to deal with, because I was like thinking, you know, how's this gonna work? Then I had to realize that, you know, you picture it in your mind that you want it so that when the engine is at top dead center, if you're advancing it so that the number one is firing before it gets to top dead center, that means the rotor should have been already past number one. I know that's confusing. It's gonna be really confusing to me. I'm like, God almighty. But all right, guys, I'm rambling. I'm just wow, that's nice. I noticed one thing else while I'm talking about this, and which will probably cure itself, but there's a little bit of leakage out of these heater hoses, and that is kind of common with these. That Valiant over there did that also. These things tend to, especially when you got paint on the hoses, they tend to have to heat up before they sort of seal. So I'm going to just kind of run it with the cap off of it and stuff. In the meantime, we're going to have to see what's up with this power steering. This is this doggone self-tensioning power steering pump, and I'll tell you now, man, that thing's hotter than hell. Whew. I'll tell you now, I'm not sure about that, because so you can pick it up. See that? It's supposed to. So anyway, wisely though, I kept my other power steering pump. I think it's in the trunk of the car over there. I kept the other one. I've got one that came off when it was in that car, and it uses a different bracket and uses a couple other, one of the lines is different, I think. Well, we'll see if we can work this out. Anyway, guys, all right, I'm just kind of trying to calm down here a little bit. Used to be, I'll tell you a little quick thing before I'm going to sign off this, but when I was a kid, man, I used to be just terrified of stuff leaking gas and backfiring and all that crap. And I've finally, at age 47, grown out of that, because, you know, it comes down to, well, there is nobody else can come here and do this for me, so if it's going to be done, I got to do it. So that's that. And the thing that started all that, real quick story time before we go, is that when I was a kid, about 8 or 9 years old, we had a guy come to the house that was one of my dad's friends, and we had a 64 Volkswagen Beetle. And my dad used to drive that car. Remember, this is back in the late 70s. It wasn't that old then. It's a 64 Beetle, and my dad drove that car back and forth to work in Huntsville. We lived in Gunnersville at the time. And so he was working on that car one day, and something happened. He leaked gas, and I guess it got on the distributor, and that thing went up in a fireball right there in the driveway. And I was a little kid, and you know, my dad had already caught that car on fire once. At least it caught itself on fire. They used to be, you know, people I guess didn't really understand what caused those things to fire sometimes. But anyway, so he'd fixed it and everything. So there it went again, and you know, he got it put out. But that's just, you know, when you're a kid like that, that's sort of one of those indelible images that sticks with you. So I've kind of, ever since then, I'm kind of, you know, just not crazy about this. But I try to have everything as safe as I can. Have, you know, things to put fire out with and all that. Got a fire extinguisher over here. So anyway, luckily things went pretty good. So we will go on from this, guys. I'm gonna get this thing where it will move, stop a little bit, and then we will have the pressure off to try to get this thing going, and that's good. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.